Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Welcome and thank you for attending this webinar today. My name is Yashin Naran. I am a modern applications engineer forming part of the technical team. I work mostly on the manufacturing side using Inventor, Fusion, and AutoCAD Electrical. Today, I will be presenting to you cloud collaboration with Fusion. The session topics for today, we will start off with a definition of what Fusion 360 is. We will then take a look at AnyCAD, a new file collaboration technology used in Fusion. After this, I'll take you through some of the benefits of Fusion Cloud Collaboration. This will then be followed by a demonstration, and to end, we'll have a short Q&A session. So what is Fusion 360? It is a cloud-based CAM and CAD tool for collaborative product development. It is a comprehensive and cost-effective application that contains all the tools you will need for mechanical design, CAM, FEA, simulations, generative design, and data management. So where does collaboration begin with Fusion 360? It starts off with the wide range of file formats that the application is able to read and process. This is achieved through the use of AnyCAD technology that enables Fusion to support CAD formats from many other design software applications. Often within the manufacturing environment, vendors, contractors, and customers use different CAD tools. This can even extend to larger companies where different divisions are using various platforms. AnyCAD streamlines the process of sharing and transmitting CAD data between various parties. How this works is AnyCAD allows you to link models that come from another CAD application. You can use the original file formats and directly open them up inside of Fusion. What does Fusion have to offer in terms of cloud collaboration? Firstly, all your data is securely stored and managed in the cloud. You do not need to worry about costly storage equipment such as servers and the additional resources that are required to maintain these servers. Because Fusion is a cloud and web-based application, it grants you the ability to access your project and design data from anywhere. This can be done by simply logging into your Fusion Online portal through a web browser, which will allow you to review, track, access files, and even communicate in real time with other team members. Once again, because Fusion projects are accessible from a web portal, this allows you to access project information on most mobile devices, such as cell phones, tablets, and laptops. Fusion also has a mobile application that can be downloaded and installed on Android and iOS devices. Lastly, Fusion connects teams and suppliers together. Your Fusion project can be securely shared with anyone in or outside your company. This makes it simple for stakeholders to review your design as needed. Let's head over to the demonstration and have a look at how collaboration works inside of Fusion.
Okay, so welcome to the demonstration, and what we are going to have a look at first is some AnyCAD technology. So that's going to allow us to collaborate with pretty much anyone using a different software application, utilizing all their different file formats. So how I've set it up is I'm going to be collaborating with someone that's using Inventor, and I myself may be using Fusion 360. So inside of my Fusion 360, if you have a look, I have a Fusion collaboration project already set up. So I'm going to open that up quickly just so we can have a look at what's inside. So there's not much going on in this project. No data has been stored, shared, or created just yet. And what we're going to have a look at is my team member, for instance, is using Inventor. So they have all their data locally stored and they'd like to share this information with me so I can either review it, edit, and modify. So inside of Inventor, we have a Vice assembly set up. It does contain a couple components and it is a top level Vice assembly. So that's its file association are all the components that you can see in my model browser. So how are we going to transfer this information? This is going to be done through the Fusion 360 desktop connector. This bridges the gap between Fusion and any other CAD tool or most of the other CAD tools. So it doesn't necessarily have to be Inventor. It could be SolidWorks. It could be CATIA, for example. So how do we transfer this data? This is done by accessing my file explorer firstly. So I've got two windows open at this stage. On the left hand side, I have my Fusion 360 desktop connector. Okay, so it builds and it displays as a drive. When I open up that drive or that desktop connector, I have access to all the projects loaded inside. And you'll notice I have a Fusion collaboration project. So the project that we saw inside of my Fusion 360, it is blank. There's nothing inside. On the right hand side, I have the locally stored data or files that make up the Vice assembly. So in order to share data, all I have to do is simply drag and drop these files onto my desktop connector. They will then be synchronized to the cloud. So what's really nice about the desktop connector is it has CAD data in mind. Okay, so it maintains the file references of the top level assembly. So I don't actually have to go and pick and place individual files one at a time. And I might even miss some essential files that are key in the design. So all I'm going to do is grab this Vice assembly, drag and drop it onto my Fusion desktop connector. I get a little prompt for a project file. I'm going to select OK. And what you'll notice in the bottom right hand corner is it's busy transferring those files. This will take a couple seconds. Once those files have been transferred, they will display my desktop connector and they will soon be synchronized. Okay, so once they've been synchronized, I should have access to these files in my collaboration project through Fusion. So what I'm going to do is head over to Fusion 360, open that up, and you'll notice there is a little prompt. Okay, data in this folder has been updated, and that's of course because we added local files from Inventor to the desktop connector, and that has now filtered through to Fusion. And you'll notice all the individual IPTs themselves are built inside of Fusion 360. And I of course can open up any one of those files. So if you have a look, the top level assembly is there, and I can open up that too. So it should take a couple seconds to load. Okay, so those files are now open and they have been shared with me. I have access to them inside of Fusion. I can then modify them, review the files, and pass that information to my team member who is using Inventor. Over and above that, I could go and leverage the other tools that are available inside of Fusion, such as generative design, the simulation tools, or the manufacturing tools to simulate toolpath creation of some of these components. Okay, so that sums up a little bit on how any CAD works. Now what we're going to have a look at is some of the other collaboration tools that Fusion has to offer. Okay, in order to do this, I'm just going to switch projects quickly and close this down. Okay, so I have a project set up. It's called Headphone Concept. Inside of this project, there is a headphone concept design, so I'll open that up. Okay, so it's the headphones that we saw in the previous webinar for rendering with Fusion. Let's touch base with a couple things first. Okay, so if you have a look at my data panel, it shows the design, but there's also this expansion tool to get more details of what has been done in this design. So it gives us a little bit of information on our design and who has made changes. So you can see there is a version history. Okay, and I can display all of those. And that is automatically created inside of Fusion once someone edits the design and saves it. So each iteration is stored and saved. Okay, it will give you a timestamp. Okay, who's done what, when, and why they've done it. So there's a little note that it pops or appears. So you'll notice for version 20, the note was rendering props removed. Okay, and the person who made those edits was of course me. And what we can do over here is open up any of these versions to just to see what changes have been made. Over and above that, you can promote a previous version to the current working copy. So if there are changes that have been made that you don't like, you can always revert back to an earlier edition of the file. Okay, so it gives you some more information. So where are any of the components in this design being used? Are they being referenced in other designs? Currently, there are none. Is this design being used in any other assemblies or on any other projects? And yes, it is. So this design is currently being used in headphone design too. It also references the drawings, which is quite nice. So all your design data is trackable and traceable. And this information is automatically done, so you don't have to worry about controlling the versions or the different iterations, tracking where the designs are being used or where the drawings are located. Fusion will automatically do that for you. So over and above that, how do we actually start collaborating with other members? It's quite easy. You'll notice at the top of my data panel, there's a people's button. Okay, this allows me to invite members to the project. So there could be other members using Fusion. There could be other stakeholders. There could also be people who are reviewing the project that actually aren't CAD designers themselves. However, they want to oversee the project, check on what we're working on, and they want to make some comments on it. So how do we do this? It's quite simple. We can type in an email address. So what I'll do is I'll quickly invite one of my colleagues, Tyrell, to the project. So they will get an invitation and this will grant them access to the project. So they will actually get a link to the project itself where they can access the data either directly through Fusion or a web browser. So we'll have a look at the web browser portion in a little bit. So currently I have 3 people invited to the project. I have John Fusion, which is actually myself. It's an alias account. And then I have me collaborating on the project. So during the design process, what you can actually do is make changes, save it, it will store as a new version. You can obviously comment on what changes you have been made to the design, or alternatively, I can do and create comments directly from this little panel over here. So what I'm going to do is create comments. Okay, so comments on a point. And what I can do is actually navigate to my model, isolate a feature I'd like to leave a note on. So I'll do it for the headband of the headphones. And I'll say, please adjust logo position and post that. So any member who has access to this project will actually get a notification on their side about the comments, and then they can make those adjustments, save the file, and it will of course appear as a new version. So what I'm going to do is just expand this dialog box a little bit. Okay, so I've made a comment. As you can see, it's been posted, and I can reply on it, or another team member may be able to apply or comment on that. Okay, so we'll wait a couple seconds and we did get a reply. So we got a notification and John Fusion has stated that he will make adjustments after the grill has been changed. And I can of course reply to that comment and say, okay, cool. Okay, so you have live interaction with your team members, and of course it's just 2 people on this project currently, but this could be multiple members working on the same document at once. So I'm going to wait a couple seconds, just wait for John, which is me working on another laptop, to make some adjustments to the grill of this headphone. Okay, so a new comment has just come in. Let's have a look, run a refresh. And you can see on the other end, so John has made some changes there. Let's review them. So Hayashin added fillets to the grill and changed the appearance. What do you think? So quite a live environment we're working inside of Fusion. Good for teamwork and collaboration. Works really well. And you'll notice another thing besides the comments, which is a live feedback and stream of data. My data in this folder has been updated. So let me run a refresh. Okay, so it's going to take some time to process. Just give it a couple of seconds. It's probably loading the changes that John has made, which would be the fillets on the grill. Okay, so I'm not going to wait for those changes to pull through. We've had a look at the comments, quite interactive. Next up, what we're going to have a look at is accessing your project data from anywhere. So Fusion 360 allows you to open up project data from a web browser interface. This could be a tablet or your mobile device, and this can actually be done directly from Fusion. So if I select on my profile, I do have an option to open up my project information on a web browser. Okay, so the A360 web client will load, and there's a couple things you can do. You can view all your projects, the projects that are shared with you, the projects that you own. Over and above that, you can create new projects directly from this interface. So I could potentially invite someone who does not use the CAD design software Fusion 360 to my project to review design data. This can be done through the web browser interface. As you can see, it is Google Chrome. So let's have a look. Let me jump into that headphone concept project and open up the headphone concept file, which is now on version iteration 23, of course, because John Fusion has made some revisions to the file. So there's a couple things you can do from here. You can download the file, okay, and because of that AnyCAD functionality, you can actually export it into various or different file formats, okay, depending on who needs access to it and what software application they are using to view that data. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just open up that headphone project, and it gives us some details on the project we're working with. So you've got the name, you've got the similar uses used in and drawings. Okay, so we can reference where this data is being referenced. And you can see already that these drawings are out of date. Okay, probably need to be updated because changes have been made in the design. Over and above that, you have comments. Okay, so you can interactively work with comments. You have access to all your team members all the time. You do get push notifications that can either go to your mobile device or email address. So those are the comments that we saw early on inside of Fusion, and you can view them in this interface, and I could potentially add another comment. So what it's going to do is take me to the viewing application on the thin client, which is quite nice. And I can review those changes. And if you have a look, those are the changes that John Fusion made, added fillets, and changed the appearance of the part. So you have full access to your design over here. And what you'll notice is some notifications appear for the comments. Okay, so quite interactive. And I could reply on that. Okay, so I could say still waiting for the drawing update and reply to that. Okay, so a couple things you can do from the web browser interface is you can actually manipulate around your parts as you would in the CAD environment. You can interactively work with comments. Okay, so if I was working with multiple team members, you do get this little glyph that displays to view the comment and see what is going on in the model. You can pan, orbit, and you can actually do markups directly from this interface and do some reviews on your design. So if you have a look, you do have tools at the bottom. Okay, so just to explore some of them, we can do a markup. So what I'll do is, let's maybe use a call out. Okay, and write some text in there. Change the material type. And once I've got my comment, got my markup, I simply store it. Okay, and you can see it interactively places that comment on the model itself, stores in the comment page, and of course anyone that I'm collaborating with will then have access to this information. So it's quite nice. Once again, this can be accessed anywhere on a phone or a tablet or any other mobile device that you may be using. It is iOS and Android compatible. So in terms of sharing this data, you do have a couple options to do so. So there is a little share button, okay, directly in this interface. And what this allows me to do is grant access to any external parties to review my design. Okay, so with the share option, the share link is on. You can see the link is at the bottom. And what I can do with this link is simply copy it and paste it into any web browser. So I could potentially also email it to anyone. Okay, type in the email address, write them a little message. What's really nice about this link is you can also control certain levels of security. Okay, so do I want people to download this file, have the ability to have the native file, make edits to it, um, use it for tool pathing? It all depends on who I'm collaborating with. So that can be done from the interface. So allow users to download the file. Does it require a password? So I can actually type out a password, set it, and when you access the link, it will request that password. And of course, if you don't have it, you won't have access to my design data or information. So all I'm going to do is turn those off. Maybe I'll allow viewers to download the local file to their computer so they can actually work on the model themselves, and copy the link. And how this works is I can go head over to any web browser. So this would be for anyone that actually doesn't use the design application, but is still a stakeholder on the entire project. And I can paste that link over there. It will load in the web client. So very similar to actually what we've seen in my A360 account, okay, as being a project member. I have access to comments, markups, etc. With the shared link, you have something very, very similar. However, because this is a shared link, it's not directly inviting someone to collaborate on your project. They can only use it for viewing purposes. So they will not actually be able to make any comments at this stage. So if you have a look at this interface, you can zoom in, rotate, have a good look at the model. So let's explore some of these tools. You can actually isolate components, okay, all the parts that were used in the design, okay, which is very nice. You can have a look, isolate all those different features. For instance, the headband. I'll take this back to the top level. Once again, you can do markups. Okay, so we can do callouts. You can draw text and write messages. Okay. Okay, once you have done a set of markups, you can actually save it as a snapshot, okay, as a PNG file to be referenced earlier on and sent to whoever needs to actually see the design changes that you'd like to have occur or be made. Okay, so I'm just going to close that interface down. A couple other things you can do is you can do live measurements on the file. Okay, so there is a measure tool and it's quite interactive. You can simply select portions of your model that you want to measure between, and that data can be referenced very quickly. So those measurements will pull up, and like I said, if you're on the move and you really need to access data from your project, but you don't have access to your laptop or Fusion, it can be done on your mobile device. Okay, so what's really nice is you can also do an exploded view of the model. Okay, so how this works is I start the function and I can literally expand the manipulator, exploding my components, and I can get better insight to how this was constructed. And then I can do comments, okay, on individual pieces or portions, or rather markups of these components. So this is a shared web link, and if you notice in the top right hand corner, there is a download option. Okay, so I can download the file, and that's because I toggled the option to make this available to everyone, okay, to download the file. And then I could also open up in Fusion 360 if I do have it. So that pretty much summarizes a little bit of the collaboration tools that can be used inside of Fusion 360. Very intuitive, um, next level stuff over here, and I hope everyone enjoyed that.
Okay, so on that note, we are now going to open the floor up for any questions. Okay, so if you have any questions about Fusion 360 and collaboration, feel free to ask. There is a Q&A box towards the bottom of your screen, I do believe inside Zoom. Also, and over and above that, I've also included a link. Okay, so you might want to take a snapshot of that. It's a link to the Fusion viewing application. Okay, that public link that I shared earlier on in the demo. You can actually grab that link, pop it into your web browser, type in the password, which is Fusion123, and you will then have access to the link and you can explore that interface for yourself. So just to have a check if there are any questions. Okay, so I'll wait a couple seconds. Over and above that, we do have a survey that's running. So as soon as this webinar has ended, you should get a notification for that survey. If everyone could fill it out, that'd be fantastic. Alrighty, so I see very quiet today, no questions coming through. On that note, that concludes this webinar. Hope everyone who has attended has a fantastic week further. Enjoy.